Hello, everyone. Hi, Imprenditor. Hey, IS. Hey, Mommy of Kite. What up, Patrice? What's up, Mike? Hey, Mo. Mo from Dubai. Hi, Cleo. All right, y'all. So this is the one that you've been all waiting for. What's up, Rob? What's up, Dame? What's up, Satan Loves It? Hi, Kia. Hi, Kia on YouTube. Okay. So, hey, Rizat. Hey, Aden Husni. What's up, Ajawar? Hi, Ansela. Mr. Blessed. Hello. Okay. So today I want to talk about storytelling, but I always like talk about storytelling, personal storytelling, and things like that. But everybody always asks me, hey, Marwan, everyone always asks me, okay, how do I apply what I'm learning, like all the storytelling stuff, and apply it to my business? How do I connect it to my business? How do I turn it into a brand story? How do I sell my product and things like that, right? So that's what I want to talk about. At Night Owl Nation, we've been doing that for the last 6 weeks, just practicing storytelling, storytelling, storytelling. And now for the next 4 weeks, we're going to figure out how to take what we've been learning about storytelling and how to tie it to your business so you can sell your products, you can sell your service and all of that. So if you have any questions about how to sell using your storytelling, put it in the question tab. If you're a Night Owl Nation member, you probably put it in Instagram stories for my close friends stories, and I'm gonna go through it. So like about 50 people have submitted their what they do, and I'm gonna go through each one and answer how I would sell it, right? But if you have a question about your product or your service, just put it in the sticker tab here. Put your question there. And hey Sue, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of go. I'll either answer if it's a question, I'll answer your question. If it's like a case study, like how I will tell you how I would sell your product using storytelling. So the first thing I want to cover is this. If you're on my mailing list, I sent out an email this morning all about how to do this. But the important thing is a lot of people try to sell based on virtue. Like for example, people try to be like if I'm a fitness trainer, right? Or let's say I'm a health and wellness coach. People are like, hey, like it's not this is about like living a healthy lifestyle or feeling better or all of that, right? But the thing is, the thing that's gonna get people to take out their wallet, take out their credit card and buy something is always going to be based on vice and not virtue. It's going to be for selfish reasons, right? So they rather hear like, okay, how am I going to lose 30 pounds in 30 days? They don't want to hear like, oh, like how do you want to live a healthy lifestyle? There was this one YouTube video I saw like 10 years ago where this guy was selling a book. And this is a book about how to teach men how to be better men, how to be better husband, better father, better, like basically a better good guy, right? But the way he titled this is how to get head. Because if you go to men and you say, hey, I'm going to teach you how to be a good man, good guy, a good father, a responsible guy, right? Guys, no guy's going to be like, okay, sign me up, right? But if you say, I'm going to teach you how to get head, then they're going to be like, okay, I'm interested, right? But the thing is, the way you get head, the way you attract women and things like that is by being a good guy, being a good, responsible man, right? So this is why you have to sell based on vice and not virtue. And these are vice that are like deeply rooted. So for example, yes, like Mr. Mayonga, I can see your comments. So hey Arthur, so for example, it's on Instagram. So if you want to ask questions, please come to Instagram. So for example, like for me, like I know that a lot of people come to me and they're like, son, can you teach me storytelling? Can you teach me branding and all of that? But what they really want to know is that, hey, son, what I do sound like everybody else. I'm a life coach and I sound like everyone else. Like my brand story sounds like everyone else. I don't know what it is that I'm different. What makes me unique? That's what they really want to know, right? Or yes, so that those are good examples. So think like back when we did a lot of like app development and stuff like that, clients come to me and say, oh yeah, I want to build this app, I want it to be like innovative and things like that. But what they're really worried about is their current app is piece of shit and it's so buggy and there's bug, but they don't want to tell me that. And when I ask them, like, okay, there's something wrong with it. Like every business owner that has like a technology product, they're like, I'm not exactly sure. I'm not exactly sure what the problem is, but I know there's a bug. I know there's something that I'm my developers are not telling me, or something like that. So you need to really psychologically understand your clients. You need to understand your customers. You need to understand what is their vice, what is their pain, what is their excruciating pain, emotional pain that they have inside that they're afraid to tell you, right? And then you got to bring that up first. All right, let's go through these questions. Okay. And also, if you're just joining, put your question in here. And if you want, you can also go in there and vote up. Just hit like on the question that you want answered first, because I'm just going to go from the top and answer as many as I can. Okay, the drawing board. When you're going to sell, do you have few pre-made ways to do it? Just adapt the story, or do you always start from scratch? So obviously, like for me, if I know what I'm selling, if you know what you're selling, you're gonna tell the same story over and over and over again. And it's gonna get, every time you tell it, it's gonna get better and better and better, right? When I work with clients, I'm always, so the first meeting that I have with clients, I have a 3-hour kickoff meeting with them. And in that 3 hours, what we were doing is basically like a therapy session where they tell me their whole life story and their business, and I ask them a million questions. And through that process, this process usually takes me about 10-15 hours total. But through this process, I figure out exactly what their customer's pain point is. What's that thing they're worried about that they're afraid to say, right? And then I tie it to, okay, either number one, when did you go through the same thing that this person did, right? So if you watch Shark Tank, the ones that are like the most popular in Shark Tank, the ones that always gets funding, are the stories like, hey, I was going through this problem and I told myself there's got to be a better way, right? And I couldn't find any solution, so I invented the product myself, right? It's something like that. Like it's a pain that you went through yourself, so you understand it so well, right? So yeah, so I don't have like a pre-made way to do it. I really need to work with the client, and every client, I need to really hear their story. And this, like I said, this entire process takes about 10-15 hours. So if you're in Night Owl Nation and you're doing this assignment, right? Like this week's assignment is come up with what are those pain points, and try to come up with your own vulnerable story, right? Where you were in the same place, or a vulnerable story from a client where they were in the same place. So if you're going through this exercise, you're not going to just do this in an hour or two. Like this is going to take a long time and it's going to be hard, but it's going to be worth it, because when you're done with this exercise, like this week and next week, what you're going to walk away with is such a unique, vulnerable selling point and story that when your customers hears, like this is the goal, right? When your customer reads your sales page or hears your pitch or your sales video or whatever it is, when they hear your story, the goal is you want them to say, oh my gosh, holy shit, that's exactly what I'm going through right now. And if this person, so the fact that this person is telling me this right now, the thing that I've been worried about this whole time, but nobody's ever said it, all of a sudden it's going to make the audience feel like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I needed, right? And that's the goal. The goal of your sales message, your brand story, your sales video, or whatever it is at the end of the story, your customer has to be like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I'm going through. This is the exact product that I've been looking for. This is the thing that I've been searching for my whole life. That is the goal. So yeah, every time you really need to dig deeper. And some people say like, oh, how do I know? Like, how do I know my customers' pain points and things like that? Well, that's the hard part, right? If you don't know your customers' pain points, if you don't know what's the deep, dark secret, that deep, dark desire that they're not telling you, then you don't know your customers, that you're not going to be able to sell them. Like, you have to know that. Okay, how to build a story for S. Singsgith asked, how to build a story from a marketing consultancy for their specific service that they sell. Okay, so for example, let's say I sell design, right? You know that, like, when I go to my clients, for example, when I show them a design, I show them a design that's gonna sell. Like, this is gonna convert high, and it's gonna convert sales for them, right? And I show them another design which is not as it's not as focused on sales. It's not going to convert as well, but the design looks beautiful. Okay, the design, this design is much more beautiful, right? It's more fancy and aesthetically pleasing, but this design is gonna sell, and that's how it usually works. Like the is the audio? Can you guys put in the chat if the audio is choppy for you also? I'll try to fix that if that's the case. Okay. So this design, it's gonna be like, it's beautiful, and this design, it converts sales, right? But some clients, they just want the one that sells, even if it's uglier. But some clients just want, okay, let me unplug this then. All right, can you guys hear me now? Is that better? Just put in the chat if that's better. Still choppy? Hello? Oh, it's still choppy? Damn it. All right, let me know. Okay, it's better. Okay, awesome. Okay. Okay, cool. Okay, so some clients, when I do that, when I tell them that, they're like, oh no, I just want the pretty one. I don't care. I just want the pretty one, right? But they don't want to say that. They don't want to say that because they're like, they think that I'm going to judge them for be like, oh, you don't really care about conversion. You don't care about sales. You just want a pretty design, right? But that's the thing. A lot of people that come to us, there are clients that come to us for design. They just want a pretty design. And then there are clients that come to us because they want to clarify their message. They think, like, whenever somebody goes to them and say, hey, okay, hey, what do you do? That person's like, and you know, like every time the answer is, they're not clear on how to sell what they do, right? So some people come to me for that. There are different reasons people come to me for. So I need to be able to understand what is their deeply rooted desire, right? So for some people, they don't give a fuck if it converts. They don't give a shit if it's like, if it's increases sale, the sales message is, they don't care any about that. They just want an awesome design that they can show off to their friends. They just want people to be like, wow, this design is so awesome, right? That's all oh, this design is so innovative. That's all they care about. Then I got to sell them on that. So you really, really, really need to dig deep inside. Like, because some people do that, right? Some people go, like some agencies, you'll go into a sales meeting or something like that, and they're like, oh yeah, you know, we need to do this messaging so we can convert your sales and blah 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 blah. But the customer that's listening to it, they don't give a fuck. Yeah, exactly, Rob. They all they care about is just vanity. They just want to put up this cool looking Apple looking website, and they just want to tell everybody, oh, go check out my website, look at how beautiful my website is. That's all they care about. But they'll never say that out loud, right? So I have to be like, I have to be the one who say it first. I have to be like, you know, the beautiful thing about a design is that you don't need to be a billion dollar company. You can be running out of your garage and still look like a $1 billion company. Or on the other hand, you can be $1 billion company and look like you're running out of your garage, right? And that's the beauty. And so we can make your company look like $1 billion company, right? That's what they want to hear. Do you know what I mean? Then I got to tell them that, right? Sometimes some clients are like, they're worried that, oh, like I need to hire, the more expensive the design is, the better the quality is going to be. That's what they think, but it's not true. So what I have to tell them is, like, you know, sometimes like if you find there are good designers and there are bad designers out there, and it has nothing to do with what big agency they are or small they are or anything like that. It has everything to, just like anything else. Some people are more talented and some people are not. So what you need to do is you need to find the talented people that are not, you know, they're the hidden gems, right? And there are great designers like that out there, or something like that. So it's almost like what the client wants to know is, they want to know, they want to be the insider, right? They think that, oh, we have some, they want you to take you to the back room and cut you a deal, right? You know, like when you watch those movies or something like that, when the sales guy's like, I doing only this for you, right? Like they're like, come here, and then they kind of be secretive, like they even like tone their, like if you watch Wolf of Wall Street, like there's a scene where Leonardo DiCaprio is on the sales call, and he's going like, you know, he's selling like those penny stocks, right, in that crummy little office. And he's like, listen, I have this opportunity for you. And he lowers his voice, right? And he's like, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Like, he makes it seem like this is a secret. This is a secret that nobody else knows. I'm only telling you, right? That's what the client needs to feel like. And in order for them to feel like, you have to let them in. You have to go into that deep, dark desire that they'll never share with anyone. And you have to get them to share it with you. And the way to do that, the way to get the client to put their guard down, the way to get them vulnerable is you have to be vulnerable first. When I first go into a sales meeting, one of the first things I say is, I talk about how, like, in the first 3 years of our business, like, we almost went out of business. We were like, I was like dying, and I was barely getting cash flow. And I tell the story about the authenticity, like my authenticity story. I've told it 1,000 times. If you haven't heard it, like, it's out there. But when I tell that story, every client goes like, oh my gosh, like, that's exactly how I like, because the story that I tell is something that every business owner can relate to, right? So because I tell a story that every business owner can relate to, when I tell that story, people are like, oh my gosh, like, that's exactly what I went through too. And that bond, it lets their guard down, and now they start telling me, more. And that's the whole goal of storytelling. Okay, Anish, how did you get your first client? Can you share the experience? Okay, my first client was a friend of mine that paid me $1,700 to build an e-commerce website for a baby clothing store on a Yahoo store, right? You know what happened? That website took me 9 months to build. So I quit my $100,000 a year job to get paid $1,700 for 9 months of work. So I lost money. And this is what a lot of people don't understand. Like everyone goes and listens to Crystal and all this business coach, and people like, oh no, you gotta raise your price. You gotta charge what you're worth, and blah, blah. And you know how many times? Do you know how many times I'll meet a freelancer, right? A freelance designer or something like that. And they ask me, they're like, son, do you have any projects for me? Oh, can you refer me to any clients and things like that? So when I do get an opportunity, right? And I try to give it to them. I'm like, oh, hey, here's an opportunity, but you're going to have to do it for free, or you're going to have to do it for cheap, right? But then what's going to happen is this is going to lead to more opportunity, and this is going to help you get your freelance off the ground, or this is going to get your agency off the ground, right? I tell them that, and they're like, nah, son, I'm not cheap, son. I know my value. I'm not cheap, son. Like, and they just like, they're like kids these days are so fucking lazy and so fucking entitled that they're like, they don't even have a fucking portfolio yet. They have no fucking client yet, and they come to me and they're like, son, I know my worth. I'm not cheap. Like, I'm, okay, keep doing that. You think the first time I did my website that I was fucking I didn't know my value? You think the first website I did for $1,700, you think that I suck? That's why I charge so little? No, that website that I did was better than a fucking $100,000 website that any other agency could do. But I did it because I don't have track record. I don't have any clients. What do you think clients are? When big clients come to you and they're like, hey, like, show me your portfolio. Like, you think big clients are going to just come hire you for $100,000 when you have no portfolio, no track record? You don't have any client testimonials? Like, and just some fucking student projects that you did when you were in school? You think that's going to get you clients? No. Clients want to see proven track record. Why? Because so many clients already hire freelancers, already hire small, tiny agencies where they got burned. They're like, oh, this guy's portfolio looks good, and they just hire him and they just disappear on them. Or they'll just give him a design, but then this design is not actually applicable. Because you know how many designs design a website, and then like you try to code it and it doesn't work because it's a bullshit design. Like, they don't know anything about UI, UX, how it works. They don't know the technical details of how design translates to to coding and all of that. Like, all of that shit is track. That's why clients don't want to just see portfolio to see how beautiful it looks. The big clients, they've been burned before and they don't want to get burned again. So they're only going to go to people that they already know. They're going to go to people that they already work with, or they're going to want to see what other big clients you work with. So in order to get big clients, you have to have other big clients in your project portfolio. And that's why I go to them and I say, hey, here's a project for you, but you're going to have to do it for free. Or, hey, you're going to have to do it for cheap. But that's how you have to build up. And then once you get to a certain place, when you have that track record, you can charge whatever you want. But your first client is not going to be like that. So how do you get your first client? Find a good client and do it for free. Do something for your friend for free, and just do it like that. The first project I worked on, I did it $1,700, and it took me 9 months to build. Okay, the second project I worked on, it was $3,000, and it took me 3 months. Okay, so you see, in that first year, in 12 months, I made less than $5,000. Okay, the year before that, as an art director, I made $100,000. And then when I started, I made $5,000 in a year, right? Doing 2 websites, right? So $1,700, 9 months, $3,000, 3 months. But right after that, my next website was $10,000, and it took me 1 month. Right after that, it was $17,000, and it took me 1 month. And on and on and on and on and on. Now we charge $100,000. Do you see how it works? So this is how you can't just go from 0 to hero overnight. You got to build your way up. And that's the thing. Most people just don't, like, kids these days are so entitled. They all want to be a 23-year-old CEO. They all want to be a 23-year-old billionaire, that they don't have the patience. They don't have the fucking willingness to wait. They can't delay gratification. They all want to be CEO right away. No, you gotta put in your dues. You gotta eat shit. You gotta do the dirty work. You gotta do the dishes, and you gotta build your way up. And then one day you own a restaurant. That's how real life works. Okay. Whew. I was talking to my sister last night, and my mom hates it when I say fuck on the videos. Like, my mom says that, like, when she goes on my YouTube or my Facebook, like, whenever I use the word fuck, she doesn't hit the like button, and when I don't say fuck, then she hits the like button. And then she said, oh, lately you haven't been saying fuck too much, so I like it. But then now I'm dropping F-bombs like crazy. But anyway, okay, Ashton, how to build a story to sell a product, but making the client making the client market believe that it's there to solve their problem. Okay, let me read this again. How to build a story to sell a product, but making the client market believe that it's there to solve their problem or benefit them. Yeah, I think it's basically the overarching message that I've been talking about, right? It's there to solve their. Okay, so let me give you the framework that I use. So every sales page that I work on, or every brand story, like for a sales message or something that I work on, this is what I usually do. This is roughly the framework or the step-by-step that I follow, right? So I have it here. So number 1, I start with the emotional pain. Hey, are you feeling this way? Hey, like, are you on a, like, do you go on a diet and you do fine for about a month, and you're like, but you don't see any result, so you give up after a month? Or you go on a diet and then you see some results after 3 months, but then you whip out that potato chips and you start eating one, and one turns into the whole bag, and then you take out that ice cream and you say, I'm gonna just have one, and it turns into a whole thing. You stop going to the gym, and then you just get relaxed, and then, like, you keep going, you keep losing weight, and just to gain it right back, lose weight, and then just to gain right back, lose weight, and just to gain right back, right? So that's the emotional pain, right? I'm not talking about physical pain. I'm not talking about, like, some logical problem. I'm talking about an emotional thing they feel like, and then you start to think, like, it doesn't matter. Like, I have no problem losing the weight, but I keep gaining it right back. Like, and I keep falling into this, and I get into this depression, and I'm like, oh shit. And then you keep going down this, and then you fall right back. You stop looking at your scale, and then And then like a year later, New Year starts and you're like, oh, I'm going to do it again. And you go back, but then 3 months later, you fall right back, right? Does that keep happening to you? Now, you have to understand, right? That's the emotional pain. Like, is that really what they're going through? Number two is then you have to talk about the common myth. Like, oh, you probably think that you tried it all. The diet's not going to work. This diet doesn't work. The exercise doesn't work. You've tried this. You tried the Atkins diet. You tried this. You tried fasting. None of these things work. Like every time I just go right back to this roller coaster, right? Well, let me tell you a story. And then this is where you tell the story where you did the same thing, right? Like every new year, I would tell myself, okay, this is the year. I'm going to change it. I get all of that. And then I start following all this fitness trainer. I look at every diet, every health and wellness video, every fitness video, every weight loss video, and all of that. And then until what I realized, I work with a coach, or I work with a therapist, or I work with a wellness coach, or whatever it is, where I realized I have these deeply rooted trauma. Whenever I go, I just give up and I stop. I don't want to feel like I wake up, I look at my sneakers and I'm like, oh man, I don't want to get out of bed. Or whenever I'm like, oh, I'll just have one more bite. Oh, I just have one more bite and I keep eating. Whenever I'm watching TV and I'm like, I want to eat something. I want, like, even though I shouldn't be eating right now, and I just open the fridge and I start taking out snack. Whenever I'm doing that, it's because there's some deeply rooted trauma that I haven't dealt with. When I realize that whenever I'm doing that, it's not because I'm hungry. It's not because I'm really hungry or I have this craving. It's because I'm bored. Whenever I have nothing to do, whenever I have this empty hole inside me, that's when I tend to eat. That's when I say, oh, I don't want to go to the gym. So I realized that until I heal from that trauma, until I fill that hole, that I'm gonna keep going on this. It doesn't matter how much discipline I have. At some point, I'm gonna fall right back into the trap. So that's the problem, right? So I talk about the aha moment. I realized that. So emotional pain, number one. Common myth. That's not gonna work for me. I tried it all. 3, vulnerable story. The story that I'm talking about. 4, the aha moment. Until I start hiring a coach, and that was the aha moment. Oh, I'm only eating because I'm bored. I'm not eating because I'm hungry. I'm not eating because I have a craving. It's because I'm bored. It's because there's something missing. Aha moment. And then that's also the problem, right? Which is number 5, problem. That's the problem is not your diet. The problem is not your discipline. The problem is not that you're lazy. It's that there's a hole in your life missing from this childhood trauma or past trauma. And the solution is and then number 6 is solution. Until you solve that trauma, until you figure out how to fill that hole, you're going to keep going on that roller coaster diet over and over and over and again, right? But when you have solved that problem, you're gonna maintain the good diet. You're gonna stop eating when you're full. You're gonna stop. You're not gonna just dive into your bed and into your hole when you don't want to go to the gym, because there's nothing missing. You don't feel like anything's missing. That's the solution. Number 7 is why me? Why am I the right person to teach this, right? Well, ever since then, I made it work, and for the last 10 years, I've been able to keep a consistent, healthy diet. And then I went through this program, and I got my certificate in this, and this is where you could show off. Now you can talk about your authority. Now you can talk about how dope you are, all the achievements that you've done, right? After you went through all the vulnerability and made them relate first, and then you talk about the achievements, right? I have a degree from here. I have this certification. I work with these clients. That you show up, right? You brag a little bit here. But if you just brag right from the beginning, people are just going to be like, it's easy for you to say. And you're so disciplined. You're so healthy. You're so fit. It's easy for you to say. It's not so hard. You don't know what it's like to be me, right? But when you went through the first 7 steps, right? The first 6 steps of all the vulnerability, and show them you were exactly where you were, and then you talk about the authority, then they're going to be like, holy shit, this guy went from here to here. That's exactly where I am. So maybe this will work for me too, right? So number 7 is why me? Why am I the right person to deliver this transformation? And then number 8 is call to courage. So, in StoryBrand, one of the things they talk about is they tell you, like, okay, what is life gonna look like if you don't take action today, right? right? So this is like at the hero's journey. You're basically saying, okay, you're at the victim. You went through all of this, all this turbulent, like all this drama. Now you're at a point. You're at the point when in Lion King, when Simba is looking down in that water well, and his dad comes from the sky and tells him to take responsibility. Now at that moment, you have two choices. You can either do nothing and stay a victim, or you can have the courage. You can be brave, and you can take action, and you can take responsibility. What are you gonna do, right? So this is when you have to show them, okay, do you want to keep going on that roller coaster diet over and over and over again? Are you gonna keep, and then you're gonna lose 30 pounds, and then you're gonna watch Netflix, and you're gonna get lazy again, and you're gonna go in the fridge, you're gonna feel like, oh fucking my life sucks, I'm depressed, like and then you're just gonna start gaining weight and feeling unhealthy again, feeling like shit again, and next day you're gonna do it again and again, and then next New Year's come, you're gonna like, this year I'm gonna change, and you're gonna keep doing that again? Or do you want to actually go in the root and fix this trauma, fix this problem, so that you can you can actually fix yourself. You can actually find a sustainable long-term solution, right? So right there, that's what I call to courage, right? You're giving them a little push to be like, and you can also use other things. You can, at this point, you can show testimonials, you can show case studies, you can show money back guarantee, whatever you need to do to push them over the edge, to give them that little courage, so that they'll want to do it, right? And then finally, the call to action. Like, a lot of people might say this whole thing, and at the end they're like, okay, and if you want to do this, do this. If you subscribe to my email, do this, do this. No, just have one fucking gigantic button that says just do this one thing, right? You have to make it super, super, super clear what the next exact step is, right? But if you make it too confusing, you're like, oh, we have this 3 different programs, and you have to choose. Like, no, then like this is an emotional sale, right? People buy emotionally, and they justify it intellectually the next day. So because this is an emotional sale, you have to push them. You have to get them to take action. And if you start confusing them with different payment like different packages and things like that, then you're gonna lose them. So you have to give them a clear call to action. So now that you're ready to take action, now you're ready to be a hero. Here, maybe the button should say become a hero, like take action today or something like that, right? And then just get them to the checkout page or something like that. So I'm gonna repeat it again. Okay, by the way, this is like, I'm gonna save this, so you guys will have this. You guys can go back and watch this. So this is the framework that I use. 1, emotional pain. What is the emotional pain that they're feeling? What's the common myth, right? Coaching is not gonna work for me, right? Let's say it's yoga. I'd be like, no, yoga is for some woo-woo spiritual people. That's not me, right? Or let's say you're a therapist. Like, no, therapy is for depressed and crazy people. I'm not depressed. I'm not crazy. That's not me. So you have to, number 2, you have to break the common myth. Number 3, you have to tell your vulnerable story that they can relate to. Number 4, you have to give them what your aha moment was. Oh yeah, trust me, I was there too. I was struggling with the same pain until this happened. Until one day, this aha, right? The next, what is the problem? Why is that happening, right? So, are you stuck in a rut? Like, for example, I'm stuck in a rut. I just keep going, and every day I just eat horrible. I don't go to the gym, and the next day I do it again, right? Well, it's because when there's that story where when you have a frog and you throw a frog into a boiling water, the frog will jump right out, right? Because they know it's hot. But then when you put a frog in a cold water and you turn the heat on and it slowly boils, now that frog gets paralyzed and it just stays in there and dies, right? And you're like that frog. You're just stuck in this rut. You're stuck in this rut over and over and over and over and over again. We need to shock you, and we need to make you realize what the fuck you're doing wrong. And we need to get you, just like that frog that jumps out of the pot. We need to make you see that, right? So what is the problem and what is the solution? Or the second one is actually, I think I confused you. The problem here is that you have this deeply rooted trauma. There's something missing in your life. You feel like something is off. You feel like there's a hole somewhere there. And that's the reason why you keep seeking it through some sort of a pleasure, whether it's food or junk food or watching Netflix, not going to the gym, being lazy, whatever it is. Those are all because you have this deeply rooted trauma that you haven't healed from yet. So the solution is we need to do some mindset work. We need to do some through meditation or whatever it is, and we need to get you to heal from that trauma first, and then you'll actually start to lose that weight and keep it off, right? Why me? Okay, so and then the next part. So 5 problems, 6 solutions, 7 why me. Number 8, call to courage. Why you need to act today. What is going to look like if you don't take action? And number 9, call to action. Have one clear action that they can take. So 1, emotional pain, common myth, vulnerable story, aha moment, problem, solution, why me, call to courage, call to action. Okay, let's move on. Sorry that took so long. By the way, if you're not on my mailing list, I covered this whole thing in my email today. So if you're not on my mailing list, definitely get on there, because I'm sending out every week. I'm literally spending like 5 to 10 hours writing these emails so I can deliver the most value as much as possible. And I'm doing this all for free for you guys. So if you're not on my mailing list, that you're like definitely missing out, right? Somebody actually commented that one of my emails is value way more than a $2,000 masterclass. So it's like I'm sending a $2,000 masterclass every week. So you better sign up. Okay, the everyday Christina. How do I sell a product where the customer and consumer are two different people? For example, a kid's plate. The parent or caregiver will purchase, but the child is the one. I mean, I think those kind of things, at the end of the day, I have to go after the parent. The branding, there's a difference between branding and selling, right? So you have branding. So when I go out and putting out all this content and things like that, those are all branding. I'm trying to create a reputation or brand for myself, right? And then there's a selling part, right? So for example, let's say I'm a toy store, right? Or I'm a toy manufacturer or something like that. All of my branding that I put there, that all the kids are gonna watch, they have to see the branding and they're like, oh, mommy, I want that, I want this, I want that plate, I want, like, all your content has to be targeted for that kid. Because if the kid is the ultimate, like the kid, if the kid has to be like, oh, I want that, right? But then if the parents are the ones that are actually paying the cash to buy it, on your sales page, on your sales message, where they actually have to check out, you have to sell the parent, right? So you brand for the child, but you sell for the parent. But at the same time, if you're selling a plate, like let's say you're selling an educational product, right? Like where you teach kids how to play the violin, or you teach kids how to learn English, or whatever it is. That's different, because no kids are going to be like, Mom, I want to learn how to do English. Like, kids are not going to be like that, right? Then you have to target 100% the mom, right? The parents, because you have to convince the parent that this is a good choice, and they'll make their kids to do it, or something like that. But if it's a toy or something like that, where the kid has to influence their parent, then you have to brand for the child, but you have to sell to the. At the end of the day, today, everything that I'm talking about today, this is not for branding. Okay, there's a clear difference between branding and selling, right? Branding is how people find you, they trust you, and blah blah blah. When you're at the selling point where they have to actually take out their credit card and give you money, that's when you have to push them, or that's when you have to use a little bit of manipulative tactic. You have to use some human psychology to push them over. Do you understand what I mean? And that's why in the beginning I said vice sells, virtues don't, right? You want to be virtuous when you're branding. Your brand is all about virtue, right? Tesla, you want to talk about the environment. You want to talk about humanity. You want to talk about how it saves how it's eco-friendly, how it's the battery technology, the future, all of that. You want to talk about all of that virtuous vision when you're talking about branding. But when you're at the dealership, you're about to buy, what they care about is they care about the $7,500 rebate. Okay, they care about they care about the what the wheel's gonna look like. They care about how cool is this. Like, you at the sales point, you have to trigger their vice. right? Like, oh, just imagine how cool this is going to be. You're driving this, and you're like, when you're showing off to your friends or something like that, right? So there has to be so you brand with virtue, but you sell with vice. Don't forget that, guys. Okay, next question. Paula Singh, client has no brand narrative origin story. How, where to start? So I'm assuming when you say client, you're a brand strategy, or you're a branding, you're the one who's doing the branding for your client. That's what I'm guessing, right? That's a lie. if you're in Night Owl Nation, so I guess you're not in Night Owl Nation, because if you were in Night Owl Nation, you would know that that's a lie. Every client that I ever work with, every client that comes to me, the first thing they say in the kickoff meeting is like, "Son, my life is not that interesting. My story is kind of boring. I don't have a crazy rock bottom." Actually, that's exactly what I used to think too. When I watched Tony Robbins, and he talks about the part where he was abused by his mom and he was basically homeless and all of that shit. Like when somebody starts telling me that rock bottom moment, oh, I was abused as a child, or like my dad committed suicide, or whatever, like whatever those things, that there's some tragic rock bottom moment they tell you, and I'm always like, fuck. How come I don't have an interesting story like that? How come, like, my life kind of is boring? I wish I had a rock bottom. I wish I had some fucking tragic thing that happened to me in my life, so I have a cool story to tell. But that's just not true at all. Every human being on earth has some crazy fucking story. They have some crazy brand narrative. They have some. No person's life is like this. Everyone's life is like ups and downs. That's why you cry, you laugh. There's up moment. There's times when you're excited. There's times when you're sad. Everybody's like that. Do you understand what I mean? So trust me, there's been many dramatic moments in your life. You just don't know it yet. And if you join Night Owl Nation and you practice storytelling every week, I give you a prompt, you practice it every week, you go in your past and you bring it up, you dig it up. We go through this therapy session in small groups where people tell their stories. Trust me, every one of you guys have hundreds of crazy ass stories. And Christine, by the way, that's what we're working on right now. Right now, we're trying to tie your brand story to how it works. And trust me, every one of you guys have a story that you can tie to your brand story. You just don't think so, because you don't realize how interesting those little moments are. So why don't I just kind of quickly plug Night Owl Nation here real quick. So what we do at Night Owl Nation is this. We're not story brand, okay? We're not 7-step framework and fit it in. That's not what it is. What we're doing is I'm teaching you how to connect the dots, okay? So every day you live, so at Night Owl Nation, when you come in, when you start practicing storytelling, throughout your whole life, you have these memories in your life. You have these vivid memories of traumatic moments, or when you got lost in the mall, or when you got dumped by your girlfriend, or when you went to quit your job, or when you were like so stressed about sharing the secret with your friend. Whatever those little vivid exact moments that you have all throughout your life, there's hundreds of those dots. And those vivid memories that you have, those are the traumatic moments in your life that defines who you are. It's why you're the way you are like that, right? So what we do is we go back and we connect those dots and we try to map out our life, and we try to figure out why we're the way we are, right? And when you keep practicing doing that week after week after week, this connecting that I did that because of this. Oh, I probably did that because something happened. Like a good example that I give is one of my employees early in the day, or early in my agency, quit. And one of the things he said was, "Son, I realized that you're never going to let me make decisions." And that just killed me. That I just started bawling out, crying at that moment. I had no idea why. But years later, looking back, the reason why I was bawling out, crying when he quit, when he said that, like, "Son, I realized you're never going to let me make decisions." I realized that 2 years before that, when I quit my old job, My old boss was like that. My old boss never let me make decisions. He was a tyrant that's like my way or the highway. He was an asshole, right? So when I quit that job, I told myself I'm never gonna be like that. I don't ever want to be like that. I wanna be open-minded. I'm gonna let my employees do things and things like that. But when I actually started doing it, I'm like, no, if you do that, the client's not gonna like it. No, we're gonna lose money if you do that. So I kept turning down all of my employees' ideas, but in a nice way. But deep down inside, I knew I was doing that. So as soon as he said, son, I realized you're never going to let me make decisions, I started crying because deep down inside, I turned into this tyrant boss that I hated 2 years ago. And I become that person. And I hated that about myself. And that's what made me bawl out cry, right? So when you go back and tell your stories over and over again like that, you start to connect those dots. And when you get to practicing connecting the dots like that, oh shit, I probably did that because of this. Oh, that probably was triggered because of this. And so when you start connecting the dots like that, you're gonna see it everywhere. And that's why when I was watching the TV show The Island, and I saw that there was this one person who was more orderly and this one person was more creative, and this guy was like catching fish one by one, whereas in this guy was trying to build a net for like months, right, for weeks, right? That while I was watching that, immediately a dot connected in my head. I'm like, oh, that's just like Steve Jobs and whoever, like whatever, Tim Cook or or Steve Wozniak or whatever, right? Like one is like the risk taker that wants to innovate and do R&D, while this person has to sell the Apple II and keep making the business pay the bills day to day. Well, so you need both in that business. That connected in my head immediately, right? How did I do that? Why is it that when I watch a documentary, when I watch a movie, when I'm out in the street, every day dots are connecting in my head? Oh, that's kind of like this. Oh, this is kind of like that. That all those metaphors that I'm creating, that's basically my content. If you look at every single one of my content, it's like this. You think this, but actually the truth is this. And the example I give is some sort of a metaphor that I use that you're going to agree with. How do I do that? Do the practice of connecting the dots in my life. And the more dots you connect in your life, the more self-aware you become, the more socially aware you become, the more you connect the dots all the time. And that is the practice that we're doing. And when you get good at that, you don't have to worry. Like the story is gonna come, and you're gonna connect it to this business. You're gonna connect to this product. That's just automatically gonna happen. That's why that video, that story that I told about that show, The Island, with the guy with the fish and Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, like that video got 1.5 million views on TikTok. Okay. So if you're coming to me and be like, son, how do I be a great storyteller? How do I make content like you? How do I grow TikTok? How do I grow Instagram? All of those shit. You want me to tell you how? You know the secret? Join Night Owl Nation and show up every week and keep practicing storytelling. That's how you do it. Those are the little muscles that you're showing up in the gym and just putting in the work day in and day out. And before you do it, 6 months later, a year later, you're gonna be able to do that too. But that's the thing. No, like people don't want to put in that work. They're like, oh no, I just want to grow Instagram. No, I just want to. Like, I'm telling you, if you want to grow, it's the same thing, right? If you want to grow Instagram, you want to tell stories like me, you want to make carousels like me, the practice that you have to do is this. Maybe I should do a sales page on that. Okay. Yeah. So trust me, Paul, your client has a brand story. Your client has an amazing story that you can tie to their brand that's special just for them, the unique for them, that when their audience hears it, they're going to go crazy and they're going to sell out. They're going to fucking conversion rate's going to go through the roof. And it's going to be the most amazing brand story, right? But the difference between you and me is that I know how to do that and you don't know how to do that. Why? Because I've been practicing storytelling. I've been practicing connecting the dots and you haven't. So that's why you need to join Night Owl Nation and practice it. That's the difference. Okay, George, how to sell one-on-one coaching if I just started in the sea of coaches. So this is what we're going to cover in the last 2 weeks of Night Owl Nation, which is coming up in 2 weeks. But in order to do that, you need to understand what your strength and what your weakness is, right? So it's one thing to try to so this is what I call the mainstream audience versus niche audience. So for example, there's a difference between, let's say you're a coach and you're trying to convince people on why you have to hire a coach, right? Because there are two types of audience out there. There's people out there who's never worked with the coach, who doesn't even understand the benefits. Like, why the fuck would I hire a coach? That's fucking stupid. Why do I need a coach for my life, right? Like, that's stupid. I don't need that, right? These are the people that's never even heard of Tony Robbins. They don't even know who Tony Robbins is, right? So for those audience, you have to sell them on why they need coaching, not necessarily why you're a better coach than other coaches, because they don't care about. It's not about you. They just think all coaches are stupid, right? So that you have to sell them on that. But then the second type of audience, that's what I call the niche audience, right? That niche was that audience already has maybe worked with the coach. They're, they know what coaching is, they know the benefits of it, but they don't know why they should hire you versus other coaches, right? Why should I hire you as a coach? And that's all different. Some people, everybody's different, right? Like for me, I'm the type of person, I'm gonna give it to you fucking straight. Whether you want it or not, I'm gonna give it to you straight, and I'm gonna make you cry, okay? But I'm gonna give you the truth, right? So if you're the type of person that just needs to, like, you've had it. I've had it. I had people trying to be polite to me, trying to be nice to me, and treat me with kid gloves, and like that's never worked in my life. I need somebody to come smack me upside the head and just give it to me straight and tell me what I'm doing wrong so I can fix it. If you're that type of person, I'm the right coach for you, because nobody else is going to give it to you straight like that. And I prove it. I prove it through my content. I prove it through everything that I say. I keep it real, okay? But then there are other coaches out there that are like, oh, you're perfect the way you are. Oh, no, it's not your fault. And blah, 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 whatever that is, right? If that's what you need, then go to that person, right? So everyone has their strength and weakness. Everybody has their unique strength and weakness. And in the last 2 weeks of Night Owl Nation, that's what we're going to cover. We're going to dig deep into your soul, deep into your past, and figure out what your real weakness is and what your real strength are, right? So for me, some people teach storytelling like, they're very creative, and like they might do storytelling. It's like, okay, let's drill in, let's see where this goes, and like they do all of this like very vague kind of, let's see what comes out of you. I just want you to journal. I just want you to let your hand do the writing and blah, 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 all that shit, right? Like, yeah, that might work for you if you have the creative type of brain, but I don't have a creative type of brain. I have a very analytical brain, right? So I always thought that my analytical brain was like a huge weakness. But it turned out to be a strength, because what I can do is I can see all the stories that are working. I can reverse engineer. I can break down what I'm working, and that's kind of what I did in this session, right? That's where my strength is, right? Like right now, I'm teaching every week, and I'm trying to see the patterns of what's going on. Why are these people not be able to connect the dots, and all of that, and even like the connecting the dot part, like how do I connect the dots? So like all of that shit. This is all my analytical brain reverse engineering this art form and turning it into science, right? And that's where my strength is. And that's how I'm able to make people say, I never thought of it that way, right? So that I know that that's my strength. My weakness, my analytical brain, the fact that I'm not creative, actually turned out to be my strength, right? And that's what we're going to go over in the last 2 weeks, George. And that is more of your brand story. What we're doing today is your sales story. This is a story you use to sell. I want you to I don't care about I'm not talking about virtue, my brand, my strength and weakness, what my brand, I don't care about any of that. Right now, I'm talking about what am I going to get you? How am I going to get you to take out your credit card and give me your money? That's what we're talking about here, right? In the last 2 weeks, we're going to talk about your virtue, your strength and weakness, and how you can tell your brand story and how to sell that brand. Okay. Next question. Aya Peace. Now that no one really pays attention to corporate brand pages, how can corporate brands sell? I really think that corporate brands need to double down on personal brands, right? Like, for example, like I would much rather see like kind of like, first of all, the best way is like Elon Musk, right? Like Elon Musk, like Tesla's corporate brand is not Tesla without Elon Musk. right? So that's a good example. Virgin America, Virgin Atlantic, whatever, Virgin, those cruises, that brand is not the same without Richard Branson, right? So that's like the most obvious way how a corporate brand can use personal brand. I believe that every CEO needs to be there. Like now, actually, it's going to the other way, right? You see what's happening? Like Dwayne Johnson is not gonna go endorse another tequila company. He's like, fuck you. I don't trust you. I'm gonna build my own tequila, right? Mr. Beast is not promoting another burger company. He's like, no, fuck that. I'm gonna start my own burger company. Kylie Jenner is not partner open with some makeup line to, right? And she's like, no, fuck that. I'm gonna create my own makeup line and sell to my audience directly, right? So that it's becoming more apparent like that. Like influence is the new oil, right? That is definitely what's happening. But another simple way you can do it is like, if you're like Microsoft, what I would do is I would have the chief engineer or the chief the people that are innovating creating all the new products, working on in the R&D department that are working on future products that are coming out, the people that are working on the open AI division and things like that, I would give them power and I would have them document their whole thing, like day in and day out, what they're working on. How, maybe okay, here am I, like, hey, my name is so and so, I'm the product research, product development, product developer, like kind of like Johnny Ive, right? Like I'm the product designer here, blah blah blah, and this is the product that we're working. And that person should build their personal brand within Microsoft, right? You have to maybe give the phone to give your Instagram stories or your Snapchat account to an intern, right? Like maybe every day have an intern, have a Snapchat that goes like, oh, here's what it's like to be an intern at Microsoft, and have them go through their day and do that. Like you have to bring human into the element. You have to make people remember that you're not just buying this fucking piece of logo, that you're not building relationship with this fucking logo, the faceless logo. I'm actually, building a relationship with the human being behind that logo, right? So whatever you can do to do that, that's what I would do. Next question. Adri and Anna Fisher. How to sell mediation service? My clients are mainly divorcing couples. Thank you so much. I mean, I don't know too much about that business, but like I work with the divorce attorneys, and you really, there's a few different ways, I guess. One, when I work with divorce attorneys, for some of them, their clients are like this person who's stuck in a loveless, toxic marriage that they can't get out of. And the reason why they can't get out of it usually is because there's a breadwinner, and one person is attached to that breadwinner, and that's why they can't get out of it. So and they've been together for so long. They have kids together. They have a house together. Their life is so intertwined together. All of their friends like see them as one. So it's hard to just detach from that all of a sudden, no matter how toxic it is, right? So for some of those lawyers, their brand story needs to be going to that the inner pain of what that's like. Oh, are you stuck in that marriage where you're doing that? Like you can't leave because you're like that person is making all the money, and like you have a mortgage together, you have kids together, and you like all your family is gonna judge you, your friends are gonna judge you, and you just can't detach yourself. Somehow they have to give them the courage to be able to do that, right? And show them how they've helped their clients do that. So it's almost like, even though you're a divorce attorney, you might be like, sorry about, like, I don't know about that mediation service, so I don't know. So that's how it needs to work, right? But on the other hand, if it's like you're trying to get people to stay together or something, or that attorney has to talk about how you can come to some sort of a negotiation and like end this amicably or something like that. Or if you're more like a couples counseling, like therapy, then you need to understand, like I would use analogy, right? You ever watch a $1 million listing? What happens is the buyer is going like, no, I don't want to offer a dollar more than $1 million, or something like that. And then the seller is like, no, it's going to be 1.5 million. Like, no, they don't understand. This house is special. Right? So now you have a gap between the seller wants to sell it for 1.5 and they won't budge. And the buyer will not offer more than $1 million, right? So now what does the broker have to do? The broker have to basically play the mediator, right? When the mediator is not there, what's going to happen is like this person, they both have their pride, right? So he's like, what? He's offering $1 million? That's a fucking insult. I don't even want to look at that. And it's over, right? Or this person is like, what is he, crazy? He thinks his house is he thinks his house is special, 1.5 million. That shit is not worth $1.5 million. And they're just gonna, if they were to just go at it, they're gonna piss each other off. Their ego is gonna get in the way, and nothing is gonna come out of that, right? So that's why you need somebody in the middle to calm each side down and then get together and come to some sort of amicable agreement. And that's what a mediator does, right? So I would use some sort of an analogy like that, some sort of an analogy that they can understand. Because a lot of people in those kind of situations, they don't see themselves as the villain. Everybody sees themselves as the victim, right? If I'm in a couples counseling or divorcing couple, I'm like, I'm the victim here, right? Right? Nobody thinks that the other person is the victim. Everybody thinks that they're the victim and the other party is the villain, right? But somehow we need to, what Dr. Phil does on his show is that when you watch those shows, right, and that person is getting grilled at, from the audience point of when we look at that, holy shit, like that's what I look like I do that too. Is that what I'm doing? So you almost have to give them a reflection of like how you're being a villain too, right? So let them understand that so you can come to some sort of agreement or something like that. So maybe there's something there. I don't know. But again, I don't know that business well enough. So if you're at Night Owl Nation, by the way, see, this is the beautiful thing about Night Owl Nation. If you have questions like that, you want me to work through your story, you can go tell it in your small group. Your small group will help you work through it. And then you can nominate it so you can get on a hot seat so I can help you with it. But that's basically what we do at Night Owl Nation. All these questions that you guys have where you're stuck, the community can help you with it. And if the community can help, I can help. But most likely the community is going to be able to help you with that. Okay, the bearded soldier. What is the most appropriate way to approach a potential trial client? Cold calls or cold emails? Like, I don't know. These days, I guess I wouldn't do cold calls. I would do cold emails because nobody really. First of all, I think it's such a waste of time to do cold calls. Nobody does them anymore. But I guess it's all about how to write your email. Like, I don't know how to write cold emails, but somebody recently told me that it's like the shorter the better. Because a lot of people, when they do cold email, they write this long thing and they try to they try to sell the person right on the email. But you shouldn't do that. Like, for example, let's say I'm an Instagram growth coach, right? Like, or something like that. The only thing I would put is on the subject line is get 10,000 followers in 3 months. And then on the actual email, interested, reply to this email. That's all I'm going to say. Okay. So subject line, get 10,000 followers in 3 months. In the body, interested, reply to this email. Right. Then more people are going to reply to that email than somebody who's like, hey, do you want to, are you struggling with this? And blah, blah, blah. I want this wrong fucking email. Like, you're giving everything away. Like, you're basically telling them that I'm trying to sell you on this. Like, you're telling them that I'm a salesperson. I'm all of that shit. Like, every word that you say in sales, you're losing them. All you want to do is just qualify them. If somebody replies to the email, that means they're interested in getting 10,000 followers, right? If they're not, they're not. Right. So right away, you filter all the people that don't even care about Instagram. Now you just got the people who care about Instagram. Now that the first step is done, what's the next step in the sales message? Do they trust you? Do they not trust you? Like sales is like a cycle, like step by step, right? You can't just go from that's like you trying to sell on that first cold call email is like you going on a date and asking somebody to marry you, right? Like, no, just one thing. Just ask them for a date. That's it. Okay, that's the last one. Thank you. That's been an hour. Thank you so much. If you enjoy this live and you like all the things that we've been working on and you want your questions answered, you want me to work through your story, you want the community to help you work through your story, join Night Owl Nation. The whole point of Night Owl Nation is to help you practice connecting the dots, practice storytelling, so you can get people to say, I never thought of it that way. And when you can get your clients to say, I never thought of it that way, you can get your audience to say, I never thought of it that way, then you can sell them easily. So thank you. See you next week. Join Night Owl Nation, and cheers. Bye, everyone.